Let's wrap. There's a fact, probably the most important fact that you need to know. Indeed, it's so important that it really should be carved in stone above every archway at every school in the land. But it isn't. And that is that we are a species of knowledge. The only thing that significantly separates us from the people who would have lived in mud huts such as this of some 4,000 years ago is knowledge. And the application of knowledge, that's technology.
Chopper away.
Now just think about that for a second. Just imagine for one moment what your life would have been like had that knowledge and that technology not existed. Yeah, it matters. It really matters. I mean, arguably for me more than most, as I would have already died some 5 years ago in agony of peritonitis. Now understand that acquiring knowledge has traditionally been an exceptionally slow process. So, for instance, just with the movement of objects, it took some 3,500 years from our mud hut dwelling ancestors to get to the point where we had a reasonable understanding of the movement of objects. And now, thanks to the tradition of actually writing knowledge down and teaching it to the next generation so that they don't have to figure it all out for themselves firsthand, we have reached a point where this knowledge and the technology that comes from it impact almost every aspect of our lives. Now understand that knowledge can both be gained and lost, or even worse, destroyed. Now historically the methods of destroying knowledge have been things like burning down libraries or killing people, because when you kill someone, all of the ideas in their brain and their knowledge is destroyed. However, now with the advent of the internet, methods like that have been rendered almost obsolete as a mechanism of destroying knowledge.
Can't stop the signal now.
Now it's an interesting side that when you get lots of information, the actual ability to access that information is almost as important as the information itself. So for instance, if you have a library with a huge amount of information in it, unless you have the card catalogue to tell you how to effectively access that information, the information becomes essentially useless because you can spend almost all of your time trying to find where that information is in the library. That is, these indexes or metadata or search engines are almost as important as the actual existence of the data itself. So for a good approximation, if your information doesn't appear in a search engine, to a good approximation, it might as well not exist at all. And this does mean that search engines are arguably the most powerful entities on this planet. So anyway, the traditional methods of destroying knowledge are to burn down libraries and to kill people. You can't very easily do that online. And so now the prime path to actually destroying information on this open marketplace of ideas is to actually undermine its credibility. Look, this is the way that it works. Whenever someone tells you something or you find out a new piece of information, you instantly and subliminally assign that piece of information a credibility rating. I mean, look, it's obvious in many ways. This is why you don't take what a used car salesman tells you with as much credibility as what your doctor might tell you. Now, maybe the most archetypal example of this is how big tobacco tried to rubbish the real medical research that showed that smoking tobacco caused cancer. And it went something like this. The fallacy that those trying to demonize cigarettes are using here is called a correlation doesn't necessarily equal causation, logical fallacy. I mean, there are many reasons that could account for these different death rates. For instance, smokers tend to be poorer people without health care. I mean, really, are we going to destroy one of America's finest industries simply because of a few premature and amateurish studies, especially ones containing such glaring logical fallacies? And that's how it works. Look, it's obvious. Probably 1 in 10,000 actually read those studies, and of those, probably only 1 in 10 understood them. You don't have time to look at all of the information yourself. And this is why you have to essentially delegate that duty to those who have actually poured through the details and actually come to informed conclusions. That is, you have to, in this case, trust to authority figures. You simply don't have the time for any other options. So comes the real question. How do you tell the real scientists from the doppelgangers who merely put on a lab coat or get some letters after their name to give the illusion of credibility.
Now, sir, you are a scientist, correct?
Oh, that's right. I have a PhD in Truthology from Christian Tech.
Well, on the internet, that's on the open marketplace of ideas, there's only one way to do this. You need capable people to actually roll up their sleeves and just tear the pseudoscience to pieces. However, making good media is no good if no one actually sees it. And breaking into the attention economy of YouTube can be a tough cookie. And that's why I started this recent video contest, putting basically all of the donations of last year, which is some $10,000. So if you donated to this channel last year, this is where your funds are going. And the whole purpose of this is to allow people who are capable of making this good media to actually step up to the plate and actually have a reasonable chance of breaking into this attention economy of YouTube. So the first round is going to be judged by Eugenie Scott. That's the Executive Director for the National Centre for Science Education. So if you think that you've got what it takes to actually step up to the plate and defend the knowledge of mankind against those who would undermine it for personal gain, details are below.